Alright everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues Episode 40, Town Forest Infrastructure and Usage is being expanded. We have a large number, many acres of town forests in the state of Vermont. You know, the state is mostly forest anyway, so each little community sort of has a lot. You can use it and lumber it off and keep it maintained, have some trails. Tourists like to come and wander around out in the woods. People who have no land will go for walks in the woods and stuff. Woodstock has actually several rather large hiking trails. Mount Tom, Mount Peg. Mount Peg, I believe, is actually known officially by a different name, but in the community it's called Mount Peg, and has all of these different trails that go up into the mountains and so forth. And it's all very scenic. It's all very pretty. And it's a good time for everybody, so it makes sense to maintain such things also. If there's a way to break even doing these things, then it's even better because nobody really is paying anything to maintain such things. You would think in terms of people visiting our state, because so much of our money comes from tourism, having fairly well-maintained trails throughout the woods simply makes sense from a fiscal perspective if the township at all is getting any revenue from it. In terms of people go out in the woods, they come, you know, they want to go be a hiking tourist, and so then they go and they rent the motel room out and go to dinner, and it pumps money into the local economy. It just sort of makes sense. Having used some of the trails and sort of hiking paths going up some of the mountains in Vermont, some of them are more scenic than others. Some of them are less well maintained than others. Here, our forests are quite nice here in the Rutland area. We've got several sort of hiking areas, and they're nice. Woodstocks, I think, overall are the best, honestly. And this is a little tiny village on the other side of the spine of the Green Mountains, with almost no people in it, but it's so tourist heavy. Now, because people they go either to Woodstock or Rutland, really. And get them the room at the inn or the motel or whatever, and then they go up into Killington to go skiing or go leaf peeping or something. So Woodstock, its economy explodes with growth. Most of the revenue to be made for a lot of businesses is a few weeks out of the year during the heaviest parts of tourist season, respectively in autumn, which won't be long from now because the leaves are beginning to change color. And in the middle of winter, when you've got a lot of snow up in the mountains and people are skiing. These trails, therefore, are indispensable, and it's not just hiking when the weather is nice. People, and you know, they'll go snowshoeing or whatever. You know, cross-country skiing as well at times of year when it's very snowy out. And the forests are scenic. If anything can be said in praise of Vermont, it's that it's about the most environmentally friendly sort of Hobbiton-looking area in the whole country. I haven't seen anything else that approaches the level of greenery and scenery that we've got here. That's really how we market ourselves. It's how all the money comes in the state. It's like, instead of being business-friendly, just go wander around in the woods, I guess. And most of the businesses are service for the tourists as opposed to the locals. So it's a mixed bag. That's a double-edged sword. But it does kind of work, but you have to keep up these trails. You can't let them get all overgrown and messed up and full of trash. They're talking about putting like porta potties or something up there, sort of in the woods for people's convenience. That makes sense. Although, can't you just shit behind a tree and wipe your ass with a leaf? I mean, I'm not joking when I say that. That's not something that's a foreign concept to small-town America. Maybe to people who live in New York City or Los Angeles or something. But then again, their idea of greenery is like Central Park or something, so I'm not sure that you have to really worry about whether they can take a dump in an outhouse or whether they have to go behind a tree. Not a big problem. In all honesty, you're out in the woods, you know, go behind a tree. Go take a whiz off in the ferns or something like that. Not an issue. As far as making sure that there's marginal safety in place, that's more important, because of course you get somebody who's used to walking around under the skyscrapers on, you know, grid-like roads, very orderly and anthropic, and then they go out in the woods they can't navigate. I have the opposite problem, actually, having been raised in rural situations. it's very difficult for me actually to navigate the grid systems that are in use in most cities in the United States. It's actually very, very hard for me to get from place to place in any significant urban development. Out in the woods, yeah, I can navigate just fine. I can wander off trail and not have a problem. And I've done this many times. Back when I was in high school, I used to wander all around the fucking woods, going mushrooming and looking at, botanical specimens, basically. I had a sketchbook full of hundreds of drawings that I made of different mushrooms alone. Among other things, I did photography. And it was all well and good, and I never felt unsafe in the woods. I'd feel more unsafe, again, in a big city than I would in the woods. Humans are less predictable than animals. The animal probably, if it's attacking you, it's rabid or it's hungry, or you've startled it, it's acting defensive. Humans, though, they'll just randomly attack you sometimes for their own amusement. So it's more of a problem. Yeah, it really is. So, making sure there are a few rangers up there in the trails to make sure, well, yeah, there was a rabid animal, someone's squatting in the outhouse, and I don't mean squatting like taking a dump, I mean like sleeping next to the toilet and scaring people. Now, those could become problems because those trails it's just like the Long Trail. Now, it's just like all the trails that run down the entire Appalachian Mountain region. Now, they've had problems sometimes. They've had problems with animals raided the shack. They have problems with the drifters, hobos taking up residence in some of the outhouses they constructed. They've had problems with vandalism. They certainly have problems with drug use. And so that needs to be reasonably maintained. Otherwise, it's a dump. Nobody's going to want to walk on those trails. Especially people who, they come to Vermont and they think that it's very, very rustic. Now, you think about how any mainstream politician would view our state. Oh, how lovely and rustic these harmless hobbits out here with their hiking trails. But I'm glad that they're putting more into actually maintaining them. Even if I have my own sort of wooded area to wander around in, literally on the property, or out back certainly, which is not a hiking trail. It's actually a private area, but nobody cares if you're walking around over in the swamps back there. Yeah, it's good. It's good for the local community. That's about all. Peace out.